Chosen ones, let's take a moment and really feel this. Your isolation wasn't a punishment, it was preparation. You see, throughout history, the ones who were called to greatness almost always went through a season of silence, rejection, and obscurity. From Moses exiled in the desert, to David tending sheep in solitude before becoming king, and even to Christ himself withdrawing to the wilderness for 40 days, separation was never about abandonment, but refinement. Spiritually, this kind of divine loneliness is what mystics call the dark night of the soul, a period where the noise of the world fades so the voice of purpose can be heard. It's not just metaphorical. Neuroscience shows that during prolonged solitude, the brain rewires itself to strengthen inner cognition, reflection, and intuition. That's not depression, that's recalibration. You weren't being sidelined, you were being tuned into higher frequencies. Think about it. When you're surrounded by distractions, you're less likely to hear the whisper of divine instruction, but in the silence you began to feel the pull, the urge to ask deeper questions, to seek truth, to become the leader you were born to be. The boy who once sat alone in the cafeteria, that wasn't just a sad story, that was a seed being planted. Soil has to be dark, quiet, and hidden before growth happens. So when life stripped you of friends, routines, and familiarity, it wasn't cruelty, it was cultivation. Because the galaxy doesn't need another loud voice echoing lies. It needs a soul who has survived silence and still has something true to say. So no, you weren't overlooked, you were hidden, you weren't forgotten, you were being forged. And now, your time in the shadows has reached its tipping point. The transformation you endured privately is ready to impact others publicly. You were never meant to blend in. You were designed to lead with clarity, compassion, and cosmic insight. That's why the strange seasons made you feel so out of place. You were never meant to fit, but to things. And now that shift is here. This message isn't just feel-good fluff. It's your soul's reminder that the universe, God, or whatever name you assign the divine, has been preparing you all along for this unveiling. So buckle in, because what follows isn't just a breakdown of stages. It's a map of your spiritual evolution. You didn't just survive isolation, you transformed through it. Welcome to your galactic reveal, chosen one. Point 1, the isolation was an initiation. You thought you were being punished, didn't you? Like the universe had you on some cosmic timeout, while everyone else was brunching with friends, flying out to tropical getaways, or glowing up on social media. There you were, alone, confused, asking, why me, God? You scrolled past highlight reels and wondered why your soul felt like it was stuck in spiritual quicksand. But here's the truth, Earth Angel, that isolation wasn't a punishment, it was a divine initiation. You weren't being buried, you were being planted. See, when God has a serious calling on your life, when you're chosen, He doesn't let you just float through life, blending in. He sets you apart. That separation you felt, that ache of loneliness, it wasn't rejection from the world, it was redirection from heaven. You weren't losing friends. You were shedding distractions. You were outgrowing environments that couldn't handle your upgrade. Think about it. How can a butterfly stay in the same circle as the caterpillars once it's transformed? It can't, and neither could you. Scientific studies on solitude show that time spent alone actually enhances clarity, creativity, and emotional regulation. But spiritual solitude, that's another level. It's sacred. In that divine isolation, something miraculous happens. Your soul detoxes. The noise fades. The drama dies down. The people who only liked the version of you that played small start to vanish. And finally, you can hear the whispers of your higher self. That voice that says there's more for you, that nudge that says you're being prepared, that inner knowing that says this wilderness is your training ground. You didn't just endure loneliness, you were being equipped in it. Because being a leader of light, a bringer of truth, a divine vessel of change, it requires capacity. And God had to pull you away to build that capacity. He had to remove the people who fed your ego but starved your purpose. He had to let some calls go unanswered and let some doors stay closed, not to hurt you but to preserve you, because not everyone can go where you're going. And not everyone should have access to the frequency you're about to operate on. Those tears, sacred. That heartbreak, holy. Every sleepless night where you cried into your pillow wondering what the point of it all was. That was God breaking your dependence on the external so you could rise in your internal power. You were being rewired to no longer seek validation, but to walk in vibration, your true vibration. This is ancient. Prophets in every tradition, from Moses to Buddha to Jesus, went through isolation before their elevation. It's part of the hero's journey, the spiritual blueprint, the chosen path. You were never meant to just fit in. You were meant to stand out, to be the disruptor, the divine black sheep, the lighthouse in the storm. But to be a lighthouse, you must first learn to stand alone. That's what isolation taught you. And now you move differently. You see clearer. You sense energy faster. You no longer beg for crumbs because you know you were born to sit at the table, or better yet, build your own. You're no longer asking, why me? You're declaring, it had to be me. Because without the isolation, without the spiritual quarantine, you would have never realized that your loneliness was actually where you met your limitless self. So no, you weren't being punished. You were being positioned for power, for purpose, for divine destiny. And the next time silence finds you again, you won't fear it. You'll recognize it as holy ground. Because now you know you weren't just surviving isolation, you were being initiated through it. Point 2, the rebirth of identity. Something strange and powerful happens in the silence of solitude, Earth Angel. At first, it feels like punishment, like the universe hit pause on your life, cutting you off from everything and everyone. But what was really happening was divine refinement. In that alone time, in that sacred stillness, you weren't being rejected. You were being redirected to remember who you truly are. See, the world trained you to blend in, to play nice, to say yes when your soul screamed no. You were taught to be liked, not to be real. But all of that conditioning, it started cracking under the pressure of your awakening. And through those cracks, your truth came pouring out like light. You realized you were never meant to fit in. You were born to stand out. That older version of you, the one who people pleased just to keep the peace, who laughed when the joke hurt, who shrank to be digestible, had to die. And it did. Isolation became your cocoon. You withdrew, not because you were weak, but because you were transforming. Just like a caterpillar must liquefy to become a butterfly, your breakdown was the divine blueprint for your breakthrough. And baby, you're no caterpillar anymore. You've got wings now, but not just earthly wings. These wings are interdimensional. You're not just changing space, you're bending time, shifting timelines, and moving through realms with your frequency. This is ascension, and it's spiritual technology. During this sacred isolation, something miraculous began to happen. You started shedding identities that were never really yours. That fake laugh at parties, that nod of agreement when your soul was screaming in protest, that persona you put on just to survive a world that couldn't handle your light. One by one, those masks began to fall. You didn't just cut off people, you cut off the performance. That alone is a spiritual rebellion. The world says fit in, but you said watch me become it. And you did. Now you walk differently, not with arrogance, but with authority. You no longer beg for seats at tables built on manipulation and ego. You build your own. You no longer chase love because you radiate it. You no longer fear silence because you command it. Silence is no longer empty to you. It's holy. It's where you meet God. It's where your intuition roars and the downloads come like lightning. This version of you isn't surface level upgraded. It's a cosmic cellular level remix. You're not just healing wounds. You're reprogramming your DNA with light codes, activating ancestral gifts, and remembering divine assignments you agreed to long before this body. What's even more powerful, you didn't force this. You allowed it. You surrendered to the fire of transformation. You let the old you burn because you knew the phoenix was waiting in the ashes. That's why you now move with clarity and grace. You've tasted the power of being aligned. You've seen the magic that follows obedience to your soul. Now you trust yourself. You don't question your worth. You embody it. And the universe, it's responding. Opportunities are shifting in your favor. People are drawn to you without knowing why. Your energy speaks a language only the awakened can understand. And if some people don't recognize you anymore, good. That's the point. You weren't meant to stay small just so others could stay comfortable. You're not here to maintain who you were. You're here to remember who you came to be. And that version of you, oh Earth Angel, that version is limitless. So spread those wings. You didn't just survive the cocoon. You were reborn into royalty, and now it's time to fly. Point 3, from lone wolf to lighthouse. At first you were just trying to survive the storm. The loneliness didn't knock gently. It barged in, took a seat, and stayed a while. You weren't looking to be a hero or a healer, you were just trying to breathe through the weight of your own shadows. Nights felt endless, and the silence wasn't peaceful, it was deafening. But somehow, in the middle of that dark, painful season, something incredible happened. You began to glow. Not because everything was perfect, but because you refused to give up. You found stillness in the chaos, wisdom in the wounds, and peace in places where most people lose themselves. And then it happened. People started noticing. At first it was subtle. A friend would say, "You're so calm even when everything's crazy." A stranger would open up to you in the grocery store. People began showing up, not because you were loud or flashy, but because your vibe said safe. What they didn't know is that vibe was born from pain. You didn't study healing energy or chase after high vibrations. You became healing energy by surviving, by surrendering, by staying when others would have run. What they're drawn to isn't something you learned, it's something you earned. Psychologists refer to this as post-traumatic growth, a phenomenon where people don't just bounce back from adversity, but rise higher than before. Unlike resilience, which is about returning to baseline, post-traumatic growth means evolving beyond what you were. It's why people who face serious hardship often have deeper empathy, greater inner peace, and an unshakable presence. You didn't try to be a light. You simply refused to let the darkness win. And now, that light is leading others home. It's not unusual for those who've spent a long time isolated or misunderstood to become powerful healers. In fact, Carl Jung, one of the fathers of modern psychology, wrote, "The wounded healer is the one who can cure others because he has been through the fire." People come to you now not because of your perfection, but because your presence says, "I've been where you are and I made it out." You're no longer just surviving, you're serving, often silently, just by existing in your truth. And the most poetic part of all, you didn't do any of this for applause. You weren't trying to inspire anyone, you weren't building a brand, you were just trying to not break. But God, in divine strategy, turned your breakdown into a beacon. Now you're a lighthouse, not a rescue boat, not a spotlight chasing validation, a lighthouse, a still, powerful presence that doesn't chase or shout. It just shines, steady, silent, strong. Lighthouses don't follow ships, they don't chase storms, they stand. That's what you are now. You're not a lone wolf anymore, wandering in the wilderness. You're rooted, anchored, watched by many, not for performance, but for presence. And here's the truth, when people see someone who's been through the fire and still radiates peace, they can't help but lean in. They sense the depth, they feel the authenticity. They know somehow you carry keys that unlock healing they didn't even know they needed. So if you're wondering why people keep coming to you, why they spill their stories, why they say, "I don't know why I'm telling you this," this is why. You became the light you once prayed for. You turned your pain into power without even realizing it. And now, you're not just surviving anymore, you're guiding others, not with noise, but with presence. You're not lost, you're not broken, you're the lighthouse. And the beautiful thing about lighthouses, they don't move, they just shine. Point 4, access denied, equal sign protection granted. Now let's talk about the ones who tried to force their way back in. Yes, them, the same ones who ghosted you when you needed a hand to hold. The ones who said you were too deep, as if depth was a flaw and not a divine design. The ones who once bragged, "I can handle them," only to run when your soul mirrored their unhealed shadows. Chosen ones, they thought you were just another connection. But now they're realizing you were the awakening, and here's the divine twist. They didn't walk away from you. They walked away from their own elevation, and the joke, it's on them. Because God doesn't play when it comes to his anointed ones. You see, the universe doesn't forget who fumbled a blessing. Spiritual law is different from man's logic. While they were busy treating you like an option, heaven was writing your name in the stars. Your aura, your energy, your purpose, it's sacred. That access is no longer up for grabs, it's revoked permanently. Why? Because you're not just anyone, you're a chosen one. You didn't just glow up, you grew up, you turned your pain into power, your silence into sovereignty. And now that you've found your light, anyone who once fed off your confusion is no longer welcome at your table. And let's be clear, it's not revenge, it's alignment, it's divine justice. Because karma isn't always dramatic or loud. Sometimes karma is the quiet realization that they can no longer sit where they once lounged. It's scrolling through your social media, seeing your peace, your purpose, your glow, and knowing it has nothing to do with them anymore. It's watching you thrive in a realm they'll never understand, because they didn't respect your depth when they had the chance. Spiritually speaking, when someone is removed from your life, especially in a sudden or painful way, it's not always a rejection, it's protection. God saw conversations you didn't. He heard thoughts they never dared to say aloud. And before they could further delay your purpose, He closed that door with divine finality. You didn't even know it at the time, but He was preserving your purity for a higher path. And now they feel it, the absence, the silence, the weight of what they lost. Because what they once called too much was actually the medicine. Your presence was healing, your energy was rare. But in their immaturity, they mistook your kindness for naivety. They tested you like a common soul, and the universe responded like a judge, access denied. You're not meant to be recycled, you're meant to rise. So when they text you, "Hey stranger," or drop an emoji in your story, remember this: that's not a reconnection, that's regret trying to disguise itself as curiosity. Don't fall for it. They didn't leave you, they lost you, and now they're watching God do for you what they never had the courage to believe was possible. You're walking in favor now, your steps are ordered. Your table is set in the presence of those who once doubted you. They're not just seeing your glow up, they're witnessing divine vindication and trust. Every fake friend, every ex who underestimated you, and every person who misjudged your spirit is being served a front row seat. Because when you're chosen, even your absence becomes a lesson. And the universe? Oh, it's making sure they feel it. Point 5, your energy is a portal. Your aura has become magnetic. Chosen ones, and that's not just poetic flair, it's a truth that bridges spiritual insight and scientific understanding. Let's start with the science. The human body emits an electromagnetic field, most notably from the heart and brain. According to research from the Heart Math Institute, the heart's electromagnetic field can be detected several feet away from the body and affects not only your own physiological systems, but also those around you. When you align your thoughts and emotions with higher states like love, gratitude, peace, and divine purpose, your electromagnetic field becomes more coherent, meaning it's organized, strong, and harmonious. This coherence doesn't just affect your health, it shifts the energy of any space you enter. That's why when you walk into a room, people look up. They pause. The air subtly rearranges itself. It's not superstition, it's vibrational truth. What they feel is your resonance. Your soul has harmonized with the divine blueprint, and your energy reflects that alignment in a language deeper than words. Ancient wisdom has always spoken of this transformation. In many spiritual traditions, this is called enlightenment, awakening, or ascension. Indigenous shamans refer to it as becoming the hollow bone, a sacred vessel emptied of ego through which spirit can move freely. In the Bible, this state is akin to being filled with the Holy Spirit. In Eastern philosophy, it's described as merging with the Tao or attaining samadhi. Though the terminology varies, the essence is the same. Your being becomes a conduit for divine frequency. This isn't about being religious or pious, it's about energetic purity. You've shed the layers of false identity, fear, pride, shame, people-pleasing, and now what remains is truth. And truth by its nature is magnetic. Your presence does more than turn heads, it opens hearts. You've probably noticed that people are inexplicably drawn to you. They vent their secrets, they seek your advice. Sometimes they just want to be near you without knowing why. That's not random. It's because your aura has become a sanctuary. You're radiating a frequency of safety, of wisdom, of divine remembrance. You've stepped out of ego-based living and into soul-led being. This shift is palpable. It's not about having a loud voice or an impressive resume. It's about emanating light. And that light speaks louder than anything you could say. In fact, your silence now carries more healing power than others' most passionate speeches. Because it's not about the noise you make, it's about the energy you hold. This isn't mere charisma or charm. It's not about being liked or followed. This is energetic sovereignty. You no longer operate on the default human settings where ego craves attention and survival drives behavior. You've transcended that. Now you operate on a divine frequency. That means your thoughts are prayers, your intentions are blueprints, and your emotions are signals to the universe. When you speak, it's not just talk, it's transmission. Your words carry codes. They awaken something dormant in others. Your presence calibrates rooms. Online, your posts shift realities. It's why even when you say little, people feel much. Your aura is infused with source energy, and everything you touch becomes a vessel of transformation. And let's talk about the Matrix. The Matrix is not some Hollywood fantasy. It's the false construct of fear, limitation, and programmed thinking. Most people live trapped inside it, reacting instead of creating, doubting instead of knowing. But not you. You've broken the illusion. You've remembered your divine identity. You've stepped into the role of observer and creator. Now, when you move, reality rearranges itself to meet your energy. Synchronicities follow your footsteps. Miracles trace your path. This isn't arrogance, it's spiritual authority. You're not just surviving, you're orchestrating. You're not a passive participant in life, you're a co-author with the divine. Even your struggles have transformed. You no longer see pain as punishment, but as preparation. Challenges have become sacred invitations to rise. You understand that shadows reveal the light. So when life tests you, you don't crumble, you calibrate. People feel this resilience, this peace that doesn't shake. That's why they come to you when they're lost. That's why your presence alone can soften pain. You remind them that heaven is not a distant realm, it's a vibration, and you carry it like a torch. So walk tall, chosen ones. Don't shrink your light to fit into dark spaces. You are the frequency shift. You are the living sermon. You are the divine message wrapped in skin. You no longer need validation. Your aura has already declared your worth. The matrix can't contain you because you've evolved beyond it. You rewrite reality just by showing up fully aligned. And as you continue to walk in truth, you'll transform the world, not with force, but with frequency. Point 6, divine assignments find you. Now that you've cleared out the clutter, both around you and within you, something magical has happened. The static is gone, the distractions, the drama, the doubt. All of it has been stripped away like old wallpaper, revealing your true design underneath. And in that sacred silence, guess what? Opportunity heard you. That business idea you shelved last year suddenly resurfaces with clarity. The person who never saw your worth before now watches you from afar, speechless. That job you once thought was out of reach, it's knocking, and it's not coincidence, it's alignment. You're not chasing anymore, you're attracting. You're in flow with divine timing. You've done the hard part. Healing in the dark without applause. What most people don't realize is that attraction isn't just a feel-good phrase from Instagram spirituality. It's backed by powerful science and ancient wisdom alike. In quantum physics, there's the idea that everything, including our thoughts and emotions, vibrates at a frequency. The law of vibration suggests that what you emit, you attract. High-frequency emotions like gratitude, confidence, and peace tend to magnetize high-frequency experiences. And guess what clutter does? It blocks that vibration. Clutter, mental, emotional, and physical, creates noise. It clogs the pipeline between you and what you've been praying for. So when you cleared the mess, you didn't just make space, you created resonance. But let's talk about something deeper, the wilderness, the waiting season, the isolation where it felt like no one saw you, supported you, or believed in you. That wasn't punishment, that was preparation. The wilderness is where faith is forged. It's where ego dies and spirit is born. That season when it seemed like nothing was happening was actually the season where everything was happening. You were being tested, refined, stretched. You stayed faithful when you could have quit. You stayed kind when you could have gotten bitter. You stayed focused when you had every reason to fall apart. That's why the blessings now feel tailor-made, because they are. And now, it's harvest time, chosen ones. The seeds you planted with tears, the sacrifices you made in silence, the healing you did when no one clapped for you. All of that is returning as divine increase. But here's the twist. You're not just reaping for yourself, you're leading a movement. You've become a lighthouse for others still lost in the storm. Whether you realize it or not, your alignment is activating people around you. Your courage gives others permission to break free. Your truth inspires others to step into theirs. This isn't just personal evolution, it's spiritual revolution. You're birthing a galactic movement. That might sound dramatic, but let's not forget the ripple effect of one awakened soul. You influence energy, environments, and even generations. Every time you refuse to shrink, every time you choose purpose over popularity, you are aligning with divine frequency, God's radio station. And the more tuned in you are, the more effortlessly life begins to orchestrate around you. So if you feel things are finally shifting, trust that it's not your imagination. The reason it all seems to be unfolding now is because you did the inner work when no one was looking. And the universe, God, Source, the divine, is responding to your frequency with abundance, with clarity, with alignment. You're not hustling to prove anymore. You're receiving it because you remembered who you are. You were never just trying to make it. You were preparing to lead it. This isn't just your glow-up, it's your divine assignment. Point 7. The world needs you awake. Chosen one, this is the moment. Everything you've been through, the ache of loneliness, the confusion that made your spirit question its path, the deep dives into your own shadows that nearly swallowed you whole, it all had a divine purpose. That was your initiation. That was your sacred training. The pain wasn't punishment, it was preparation. You weren't losing your mind, you were shedding the false identities placed on you since birth, and now you're awake, truly awake. And nothing is more dangerous to the matrix than a soul that's come online. You see, your isolation wasn't rejection. It was redirection. While others were out chasing trends, attention, and temporary highs, you were sitting in silence, decoding your soul. You were asking the real questions. Why am I here? What's beneath the illusion? What does love look like when it's not performance? Most people fear that kind of stillness, but you embraced it. And that silence transformed you. You became a graduate of the unseen realms, a spiritual warrior forged in solitude. You went through your cocoon phase, and now the wings are ready. No more hiding them. Spiritually, the chosen ones are souls born with advanced intuition, divine memory, and a frequency high enough to challenge lower dimensional constructs. You weren't meant to fit in. You were meant to recalibrate the entire atmosphere. You're here to elevate consciousness, not participate in societal games. The universe tucked ancient codes in your DNA, and now those codes are activating. That burning feeling in your chest lately, that's not anxiety, that's your divine mission trying to push through. It's the cosmic alarm clock saying, it's time. The world can't afford for you to stay quiet anymore. Why? Because your voice is laced with light. Your truth shatters illusions. Your energy exposes deception. When you walk into a room, lies get uncomfortable. That's not arrogance, Earth Angel. That's your frequency doing what it was designed to do, disrupt the darkness. You're not just another person with opinions. You're a lighthouse in a storm, a blueprint carrier, a walking transmission of divine remembrance. You don't follow trends. You are the shift. The bubble has burst. The illusion that you're too sensitive, too intense, or too different, gone. You were never too much. You were just too real for a world addicted to fake. Now the wolf in you has evolved. You're not howling in pain anymore. You're howling with purpose. You've been on the outside for so long, but what they didn't know is that's exactly where God trains his fiercest leaders. And now, it's time to step out of the cave and into the cosmos. The galaxy is waiting. The earth is watching. And the spirit realm is cheering. You didn't come this far to dim your light now. Let them stare. Let them doubt. Let them whisper. While they're distracted by their illusions, you move universes with your words. You, chosen one, were born to lead the transition into the next level of consciousness. The next chapter of humanity needs you, fully activated, unapologetically aligned, and walking like the divine disruptor you were always meant to be. Chosen ones, the isolation didn't break you, it rebuilt you. While others saw your solitude as weakness, you were quietly undergoing a divine transformation. In biology, a seed must be buried in darkness before it can sprout. That's exactly what happened to you. You were hidden, not forgotten. They laughed because they couldn't understand your silence. They doubted because they couldn't see your vision. They denied your potential because it challenged their comfort, but you didn't retaliate. You went inward. You chose reflection over reaction, healing over hatred. What most people call loneliness, you turned into sacred solitude. During this time, your spirit matured, your mind sharpened, your purpose became clear. And now, without announcing it, you've become the example, not through loud proclamations, but through quiet power. You're the lighthouse in the storm, guiding others with your resilience. You're the leader who doesn't crave a title because your presence speaks louder than any position. You're the galactic bridge, connecting the unseen with the seen, heaven with earth and purpose with pain. Science confirms that pressure creates diamonds and fire refines gold. Spiritually, you went through both. You were not being buried to rot. You were being planted to rise. That pain, it had a purpose. That silence, it taught you to hear God. Now it's time to bloom. Let your life be living proof that delays are not denials, and isolation is often divine preparation. The world didn't expect you to come back stronger, but here you are, awake, chosen, unstoppable. So stand tall, speak life, and keep walking like someone who knows their calling wasn't a coincidence. It was a divine assignment. And no matter how long it took, the bloom was always worth the wait.